Joining us right now is Mike Jones, USA Today NFL columnist. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, how are you guys doing this morning?
Mike, before we dive into the name change, I'm just curious, how many years were you going to the park every day and a beat reporter?
It was 9 years.
9 years. And in those 9 years, how many times did you have a one-on-one, if any, with Daniel Snyder?
Zippy.
Never. Never.
Yeah, never.
Never. I could have answered that for you, JP.
Yeah.
You know, but just put that in perspective. 9 years, he's going there every day and never has
Let me
a
ask you this,
one-on-one with
Mike.
Daniel Snyder.
Let me ask you this, Mike. How many times?
Good.
I was going to say, how many times did you actually see him?
Oh, you saw him like on the practice field every day, and he would walk past the group of reporters every day, rarely acknowledging. The one time I had any one-on-one interaction was in New Orleans at the owners' meetings. I was on the elevator. He was about to get on and almost jumped out of his skin when he saw I was on. And I was like, no, I'm going up. And he really had to think long and hard. He got on there, and it was an awkward 30-second ride up. And I tried to have a conversation with him, but he was very uncomfortable.
He's a reclusive weirdo hermit.
He's a weirdo.
I mean, that's just what he is. I mean, that's what he's showing.
Secure.
I can't believe someone married him.
He's got money. It's money, man. You got the money. Anybody will marry you.
I mean, there's no way they ever talk.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mike, so I was asking you that because, now it's being reported that Fred Smith and the other minority owners, I guess, approached Snyder about buying him out. He apparently said no. How much did you deal with the minority owners? We never knew that they owned that much of a stake of the Redskins.
Yeah, no. I mean, you would see Shar walking around with him more than anybody. And I think at games you would probably see another guy, and you're like, who's that? Oh, I think he's a minority owner. You didn't really know who a lot of these people were, and you didn't really see them there on a day-to-day basis. Again, it was always mostly him walking down with Bruce or him walking down with Larry Hess, or maybe Dwight Schar, and that was about it.
So where do we stand with this whole name thing? I had kind of come to grips with Warriors. I was like, I could buy that. There was a part of me that thought maybe somebody could tie that to Native Americans, but I was like, well, there's no way they'd use Native American imagery. They'll just talk about veterans and that sort of thing. But now we're hearing that they don't want anything to do with it. They don't want people to even try to make that link at all. So, I mean, Red Tails is a nice story, but I don't really see the tie into DC here. Where do we stand? What is your best guess on this, Mike?
I had thought Warriors too, because Ron Rivera in his interview with the Post said that, they wanted to find or maybe it was in his statement. I can't remember which one it was, where he talked about wanting to honor Native American culture and the military. And so the only way I could figure they would do that was with Warriors. But yeah, I'm with you. If it's not Warriors, then, Red Tails comes to mind because of the HTTR. They're talking about the similar color scheme. So if it's not that, I really don't know. And I've talked to a lot of people, and it sounds like maybe only 3 people are in on these conversations, Snyder,
right.
Rivera, and maybe, their lawyers or something like that. But it's a pretty tightly, held secret on what those several names that they're considering are.
Mike, do you think the name change happens before the 2020 season, which is not that far away? And to undertake something as massive as a rebranding and a name change generally takes a lot longer than 4 to 6 weeks. Do you think they find like a placeholder type of name, think about it, actually, think about it for a year or so, and then come up with a permanent name, or are they just going to come out with something in the next few weeks before the season starts?
Yeah, we saw Ron Rivera say he would like to have it happen before the start of the 2020 season. Before that, when I was asking around, a lot of people said, well, you could make a name change in, a couple weeks, but it's a lot of money, and there's a lot of legal things that have to take place. Now, if they kept the same color scheme, it also takes a long time for uniforms to get approved by the league. Mm-hmm. But if you kept the same uniforms and just slapped a different logo on the helmet while you were doing all the trademark stuff, then it could be, a matter of weeks. I had asked around, this week, and some people do think that it's within 2 to 3 weeks we could hear what that new name is going to be. I don't think it'll be a placeholder name. I think whatever it is, they'll go with it. While still, yes, it takes a while to do all the paperwork, and there's so many different aspects of it for the rebranding. But I think that they would like to get this thing. I know Rivera would like to get this thing taken care of, so it's not a matter that the players are having to be asked about or deal with. Even though media access is going to be so severely limited anyway. But he wants it done and out of the way, so he's not sitting there trying to watch film and then having to, look at pictures or mock-ups and deal with, any of that stuff. Because unfortunately, there is no team president, and a lot of the decision-making falls on him on non-football stuff as well.
All right, so Mike, let's talk about the start of camp and then obviously the start to the season. You obviously saw the story that the Ravens announced yesterday that they have cut the capacity of M&T Bank Stadium by almost 82%. They're going to cap it at 14,000. What do you think the odds that they actually get to 14,000? Do you foresee them allowing 14,000 fans, other stadiums as well, or do you think it's going to be smaller than that, if not zero fans? How do you think this all kind of plays out?
Well, it's still really early because we don't know how this thing is going to change between now and the start of the season. I would be surprised, though, if teams open the season with fans in it at all in the stadium. It might be, later in the fall that they wind up being able to let people in, but it seems, overly ambitious. Even the players are still uncertain on whether all of this is going to work and if it's going to be safe. And they're still haggling back and forth. They want to, but there's still questions and a lot of concerns. And the owners are more kind of gung ho on their determination to try to operate as normal as possible. But I know people in the league office do think that, hey, these guys are being a little bit overly ambitious here. So I would be surprised if there are fans in the stands to start the year.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that at this point.
What about Raheem Mostert of the Niners and his agent requesting a trade now from San Francisco? Of course, he was their best running back last year, almost 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. He's actually the fourth highest paid running back on the team. He's getting paid less than the fullback.
Wow.
He's actually getting paid less than McKinnon, who hadn't played in 2 years. And he's going to, I read it this morning, he's going to make about a little bit less than $3 million this year and 2.8 in 21 as part of a 3-year deal. He says, you know what, tear it up. I'm your best running back. Let's redo this thing. Now he wants out.
Yeah, it's really tough for a running back because their shelf life, that earning potential window is so small. And, by the time his contract is up, he's basically going to be, chewed up and used goods, and his ability to earn a bigger contract will be significantly hampered. But at the same time, teams don't like doing a lot of reworking,
especially now, yeah.
Yeah, because they don't know what the economics are going to be. They don't know how much of a season there's going to be. They don't want to load up a bunch of guarantees for a running back, which, all of Kyle Shanahan's running backs were productive, and so they're probably looking at this thing saying, well, look, we like you, not this year, we'll see if they're willing to trade him or not. They might just say, hey, you got to deal with it, and then we'll revisit this thing in the offseason. Otherwise, we'll just plug somebody else in and keep rolling.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they're going to do.
What does Patrick Mahomes' contract mean for Dak Prescott?
I think that it means that you can definitely expect to see Dak get somewhere between $35 and $39 million a year. I don't think we'll see anybody get a 10-year deal for a while now, but I do think that the average, the annual salary for guys like Dak and for Deshaun Watson is going to be, a pretty penny. I mean, Russell Wilson is at 35 as the highest guy until now we see Patrick Mahomes at 45. So the bar is, been raised, but also everybody knows that those guys aren't going to surpass Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a while before anybody does surpass him. Maybe not until, say, Lamar Jackson wins the Super Bowl next year or the year after that. But, yeah, I think that, Dak's talk about wanting to have, believing in himself as a $40 million a year quarterback, he's not too far off. So I think that Sean Watson probably a little bit higher than him. But, hey, it is the Cowboys that he plays for. And so, even if it's a 4-year deal, which is what he wanted, they'll continue to haggle on that thing there, and time is running out for them to get this thing done before the 15th. Otherwise, he plays under the franchise tag. But Jerry's going to have to come off of that money and give him between $35, probably $39 million a year.
Get that money.
We're joined by Mike Jones from USA Today. What is going to be the fallout from the DeSean Jackson posting on Instagram, the anti-Semitic messages he posted there? What's the punishment from the NFL and or from the Eagles? It can't be sitting well with the Eagles. First of all, it's embarrassing, and the fact that their owner and their general manager are both Jewish.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see. It's hard to say, but right now we know that they have done their part to try to educate him. I mean, look, if you talk to DeSean Jackson, I remember his time here in Washington. He took a knee, I believe, during that year, and then after the game, he didn't really have a good reason why. It was almost like he was doing it because everybody else was doing it. He's not. He's not the brightest bulb. I think his intentions are good. He does a lot in his community back in Cali, but they're trying to educate him. They put him in, they had him meet with a local rabbi, educating him on, what he said, the sufferings and struggles of the Jewish community, and things like that. I don't know exactly how much this contract has guaranteed. If it's got a lot of guaranteed money, then they wind up keeping him, and maybe there's, a fine from the NFL. But he has apologized profusely. What is it? I think like 3 or 4 apologies now. But we do see that for right now, the Eagles are taking the education approach, which is good because, again, he's almost like your neighbor on Facebook who's spouting off stuff, without even really knowing what they're saying and sharing, and not even realizing. I don't know how many people I've had that I like have come at, and they're like, "Oh man, I didn't know what that was, man. I'm sorry, I love black people, stupid stuff." And Sean Watson isn't bright enough to realize you don't quote Hitler no matter what, dude. And so they're working on educating, and then we'll see if there's some type of punishment down there.
The Eagles, by the way, they deal with time bombs like that. Riley Cooper dropping the N-bomb, now DeSean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know what it is about those wide receivers that they like.
Riley Cooper dropped it, and they gave him a 5-year deal.
Right.
Exactly.
They just threw money at him.
Yeah, the fact that in the coming days they immediately set up a meeting for him and then different things like that and issued that one statement, it makes me think that, he must have a lot of guaranteed money in the last year of that deal there, and they're going to work on, trying to pick him up and educate him rather than just punish and, release.
Not the brightest bulb. That's not an understatement.
No.